Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage and Equal Housing Lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, LoFi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And before we get into it, Hector just sent us a comment. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Hector. So we always thank Hector, our most loyal listener. So we definitely thank you for listening, and we definitely want you to continue to listen. But before we get into week 18, we got to get into the big story, not only in the sports world, but in the entire world. And that was Monday night with Damar Hamlin, and it was scary. It just was scary. Obviously, the Bengals were up on the Bills 7-3 when T. Higgins caught a crossing route, and Damar Hamlin tried tackling him, ended up tackling him, and then collapsed on the field. I've been watching football for over almost 25 years. I have never seen anything like that happen. That was scary. That was just so scary to see him on the ground, seeing him getting carted off by the ambulance. It was just so scary. And obviously the game ended up being suspended, then rightfully so. And then the game ended up being postponed, rightfully so. And right now he's still in critical condition, but he is improving, which is the good news. But right now, our prayers got to be with Damar Hamlin and for the Bills. The most important thing for them is, and for the Bills, the most important thing for them is to make sure Damar Hamlin it makes progress. Right now, it's just a very, very scary situation with Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, it was. Because we're used to seeing injuries, ACLs, the head and neck stuff. In sports, I've seen some crazy, leg injuries and all that. But yeah, you're never really prepared to see or hear that, somebody on the field's, is getting CPR. And yeah, it was a scary situation. It was something that was, it's something you're not really ever prepared to see. It was definitely a scary situation. It was the right thing to do, obviously, to spend that game and all that. Definitely prayers out to Damar Hamlin and his entire family. Everybody there did a good job of handling it, and sounds like he's still improving, but still a lot of details. But yeah, it was definitely a scary situation. You just hopefully things continue to improve for him, and and obviously for the Bills, hopefully for the Bills, and I guess even the Bengals too, because it just to kind of be on that field, hopefully, they need it. Hopefully, therapy could help them out, or I know the league was, so hopefully, for everybody involved there, you just hope he gets better, because that's just a situation that you never expect you're gonna ever see happen.
Yeah, and I mean, just watching it, I mean, I was at work while it happened, and I saw a player on the ground, and the thing is, as a football fan, you're accustomed to just seeing this and just happening. Just a player is on the ground, he gets carted off, and they continue to play. But then I turned on the radio, and it just seemed like the Bills and Bengals. It looked like the Bills and Bengals were so upset. We're so hurt by what happened, and here in the radio call with Boomer, with Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner, it looked like they were not going to resume the game, and they definitely made the right decision of not resuming that game. And if this was 10, 15 years ago, they probably do resume the game. But with all the knowledge we have with concussions and seeing what happened, I think that was absolutely the right move by the NFL to not resume that game and to postpone that game. And I think it was the right move by ESPN to not even discuss what the further options were for this Bills Bengals game, because that was not the most important thing at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you put it really well, because at the time, even yesterday, it doesn't really matter what happens down the line for those two teams, and being so late in the season. Yeah, it just kind of until we hear good news and hear that things are improving. Who cares about the game and future? We'll figure. It's something you figure out at a later time. It's something too that it was right to postpone the game, because again, when you see something like that, as a player, it's such a violent physical sport that you don't it's tough to ask to go all those guys, because they are so human, and they're great at all these pro athletes. Again, they're the top 1% in their sport, but they're still humans like that. To see that and to kind of know what was happening there, there's no way that any of those guys could go out there and be affected and even just have to go out there and play that game, because I know none of them after that probably wanted to go play that game, and rightfully so. So it was the right move for the NFL. They probably should have suspended it earlier than they waited an hour.
I don't think they should have waited an hour. I think that thing should have been suspended and postponed immediately. But but at least they postponed it. At least they didn't go back on the field. If they went back on the field, the NFL would have never heard the end of it.
No, absolutely not. They never would have, because that's such a tough position to put any type of player in. Even coaching staff, even the trainers. Again, even for there's just so much worry. So they're not robots; they're humans. So it was the right move for the NFL to postpone that game.
Yeah, and for me yesterday, it was tough to even watch highlights of after watching that. It was tough for me to even watch highlights of games, and I usually do that to prep for the show. It took me a little while to even start really preparing for this show and talking about Week 18, because the most important thing to me was I wanted to know if Damar Hamlin was okay. I wanted to know if he was okay. I couldn't move forward with what I wanted to do in terms of this show until I knew Damar Hamlin was okay, because I didn't think it was appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, it was something. Yeah, I waited, last night, even, because I waited kind of longer last night. I kind of did some of it this morning, because, you just don't know what. Yeah, it was, a situation where, it felt weird to kind of, move ahead and go, move ahead to this week until, we know that he's improving. Till we got some good news and that he was improving. It was definitely kind of tough to kind of go back and try to watch some stuff from over the weekend, because it definitely did feel different. It was a little weird, and you just and again yesterday too, there's still some questions about kind of Week 18 with the Cincinnati Ravens game. There's questions about that too, about what would they push Week 18 back or not. So it was definitely a little weird this week, and it kind of felt like till you heard something good, it was kind of better to felt like I had to wait and see till we got good news.
Now, knowing we are a sports show, we are going to discuss what we think the plans are going to be and what should the plans be for this Bills-Bengals game going forward. And in my opinion, for this Bills-Bengals game, I think they should. I think they should play it, because I think that it does matter, and it could decide home field for the Bills. and I think the NFL has the luxury of having that week in between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. What they really should do is they should play the Bills-Bengals game next, finish that Bills-Bengals game next week, move the first round, the wild card round, move each round of the playoffs, push each round of the playoffs back. So if the wild card round be the 22nd, have the divisional round be the 29th, and then use that extra week in between the Super Bowl and the conference championship games to have the conference championship game. So I do think they should end up playing this Bills-Bengals game, because it's not like, say the Bills go 12-3 and the Chiefs go 13-3 and the Bills have the tiebreaker. That's not fair to the Bills. And even on the flip side, say that the Ravens beat the Bengals this week, it wouldn't be fair to the Ravens not to have a shot at winning the AFC North. So I think personally, say all the games do play in Week 18. Say the Ravens and Bengals play. Say the Bills and the Patriots play. I do think they should resume this game next week and push the playoffs a week later.
Yeah, I agree. I could totally kind of see that happening, because it was a really important game. Because I feel like too, nobody, again, like the Pro Bowl this year is like a flag football game, like, that's something you could really skip. So yeah, I could totally see it, because it's such a meaningful game. They do have that luxury of kind of that gap there in between the championship games and Super Bowl where you could do it. Because I know it's tough because depending on what happens this weekend, where it's still very possible the Bills could get home field advantage. But it'll be interesting if they do that. But I do agree with you that if it comes down to it, it's still really a meaningful game going down there. After kind of after Week 18 results, or even if they do it before Sunday, that they should, if they could and they want to, have that game be next week and just push the playoffs back.
And here's just one last thing on it is, if they do postpone Week 18, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but if they do postpone Week 18 altogether, that is very, very understandable. Seeing what happened on Monday night, it's going to be tough, not only for the Bills and Bengals players to take the field, but for the entire league to take the field this week. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for every team to take the field this week. So if they do postpone those games, that's very, very understandable. Yeah,
absolutely. Right now it kind of sounds like things are a go, but I think obviously things can change. It totally would be. It's the same thing where you got that luxury that you could push things back a week. Because again, there's so many people reaching out. It's just such a scary moment for everybody, and it kind of takes you back and kind of makes you kind of think about it, everything. And it's such a tough thing to watch, or was. But again, it's not, it's on a, there's no blame for guys, or teams or the league kind of saying, let's kind of wait another week to play Week 18. Let's kind of, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the NFL if some of the players don't feel comfortable yet being back on that field. It's definitely understandable to push the Week 18 back, and just kind of give everybody a little bit more time to kind of, take their time to get back out on that field.
Absolutely. So as of now, Week 18 is still on the NFL, so we are going to move on to that, and we're going to start with the Bills and the Patriots. For the Patriots, they are playing if they win this game, they are in the playoffs. For the Bills, we don't know their current situation because of that Bills-Bengals game, but right now the number 1 seed is still in play for them. And I think this is going to be a very, very emotional. If they do play the game, I think it's going to be a very, very emotional home game for both these teams. I could very easily see this is going to be a very emotional game for both teams. And I do think if they don't, we'll see if they decide anything for Week 18. But regardless, I do think the Bills are going to play their starters. I think it's going to be a game where I think that it'll be close early because it means so much to the Patriots. But in the second half, I think the Bills are going to pull away, and I think the Bills are going to win this game. I think it's weird, after everything that's happened on Monday talking about this game, but I think the Bills win this game 27-17 over the Patriots. But Justin, can the Pats clinch a playoff spot in Buffalo?
I don't think so. I got the Bills 23-16. I've kind of said all year, it's a mediocre football team. They're, again, their defense kind of stepped up last week. How Duggar made a, big pick six there to turn that thing around. Again, Mac Jones since the start of November has been better he's got 8 touchdowns, a 1 interception. He's completing, just about 65% of his passes. So he's been better. But again, this offense is still just a giant train wreck. And it's been a long year for the offense. And yeah, I think, with everything going on wearing out the Bills, I think they do come out play inspired. I think they do find a way to win. I think the Patriots do keep it close because it does mean so much and their season's on the line. But I do think the Bills do pull away or, find a way to win by a touchdown. But it is interesting, too, where the Patriots could play the Bills in the first round of the playoffs, depending on what could happen. Obviously the Patriots, do have to win the game. But is it something, too, where the Bills don't try to show too much but do still try to win the game? So I got the Bills win this thing by a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that's going to be very, very emotional. It's going to be a very emotional day in Buffalo on Sunday between these two teams. But we'll move on to the Saturday games, and we'll start with the Chiefs and the Raiders. Chiefs, obviously, the number 1 seed is in play for them. The Raiders, their season is over. So I think this is going to be a really, really close. And Hector brought up a scenario. If they play Week 18 and Buffalo and Kansas City wins, could the Chiefs forfeit the number 1 seed to Buffalo if they don't resume the Bills-Bengals game? Just a wild thought. That would, I don't know if they would. I mean, it'd be a weird. That would be a little weird. It might be the right thing to do if seeing what happened, the Chiefs just forfeit the number 1 seed because they both have 3 losses. It would kind of be the right thing to do, but I don't know if that is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be the right thing to do, but yeah, I don't know if the Chiefs would just kind of forfeit that. I think, for the Chiefs, because again, everybody's looking to win the Super Bowl. I think it'd be a tough thing for the Chiefs to kind of forfeit that. But yeah, I think it would be the right thing to do. But yeah, I don't know if the Chiefs would give up that pick or that spot if they had it.
Yeah, back to the Chiefs-Raiders game. I think that Jarrett Stidham played pretty well for the Raiders last week. I thought he played a pretty good game, but I think their defense isn't going to stop Patrick Mahomes. I think the Raiders are going to get in the 30s, and I do think Stidham is going to make a couple mistakes just like he did last week, and that's why I got the Raiders beating the Chiefs beating the Raiders 31-20. But Justin, can the Raiders spoil the Chiefs' hopes to get home field advantage?
I don't think so. I got the Chiefs 20-21. Vegas. That was a totally different offense. They had, Jarrett Stidham rolling out, making some plays. That offense just looked a lot different than it has all year in the car. So I think, Stidham against that Chiefs defense makes a couple plays. The Chiefs defense hasn't looked good. Chiefs in a whole, I know their offense looked good, but last couple of weeks, I haven't been too impressed. They let the Broncos hang around last week. I think the Chiefs do find a way to win this game. And the Raiders, can't try to spoil their spot for the one seed.
We got a matchup in Jacksonville for the AFC South as the Titans take on the Jaguars, but I'm definitely taking the team that's playing a lot better right now, and that's the Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence has a pretty good game, throws a couple touchdown passes. I think the Titans defense contains ETN, but the problem is their offense is absolutely terrible. I think Josh Dobbs throws 2 or 3 interceptions, and I think the Jags win this game, and I think they win the AFC South by 2 scores. I got them winning 27-13 on Saturday night. But Justin, can the Titans win the NFC South for the 3rd year in a row?
No, I get the Jags as well, 21-17. I think for the Jags, they've been playing pretty well the last couple weeks. The Titans, it's a lot of injury luck. They had to sign Josh Dobbs off the street, and that doesn't look good with Willis. If they're trying to lean on Josh Dobbs to try to get him back in the playoffs. The Titans they're going to need a defensive touchdown, a special team touchdown to try to win this game. The Jags can kind of just not turn the ball over in this one. I think they should be able to find a way. Lawrence has been playing better. I think they do find a way to win the AFC South.
We got a big matchup in Miami as the Dolphins are playing the Jets. The Dolphins need the Patriots to lose to get the final playoff spot in the AFC. And it looks like we're going to get Mike White against Skylar Thompson in this matchup. It looks like the Teddy Bridgewater and Tua are not going to play for the Dolphins, so it's going to be Mike White against Skylar Thompson. And I think this is going to be a really, really competitive game between these two teams. I think both offenses are going to struggle, but I'm going to take the team. Neither team is playing well at all. But because both these teams are going into the game on a 5-game losing streak, so something's got to give on Sunday. But I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm going to go with the Dolphins to beat the Jets 20-17. But Justin, can the Jets end the Dolphins season?
No, I get the Dolphins as well, 2016. I think that at home they find a way. I think Scott Thompson plays well enough. I think the Dolphins, because they've been good against the run, I think they do enough to slow down the Jets' rushing game. They didn't really run it well at all against Seattle last week. And I think, both teams right now are not playing well. I don't trust either of these teams, but I'll take Miami to find a way at home. Mike White didn't look good either last week. I know you got to stick with him at this point. But I thought Miami kind of some self-inflicted wounds last week, and I think they, hurt them against the Patriots. I think this week they, with Thompson, they find a way to win this one.
We got another big matchup in the AFC as the Browns travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The Steelers need the Patriots and the Dolphins to lose to get into the playoffs. I think this is a close competitive game against Deshaun Watson, but I think that this Steelers defense, Kenny Pickett doesn't turn the ball over. They get the running game going with Najee Harris, and I do think they force Watson to turn the ball over a couple times, and that's why I got the Steelers keeping their. I don't think Mike Tomlin will still not have a losing season, and I think he keeps the streak alive. I got the Steelers beating the Browns 20-16, but Justin, can the Browns end the Steelers season?
Now I got the Steelers 17-13. Yeah, Pittsburgh has found a way the last couple of weeks, to kind of stay alive. Couple late touchdown drives against the Ravens and the Raiders last 2 weeks. Yeah, Cleveland last week, they capitalized a couple of turnovers. Watson didn't look great. They hit on a couple of big plays for some touchdowns. But I think Kenny Pickett makes enough plays. I think field position is going to be huge in this one. Special teams, punting and all that's going to be a big factor. I'll take the Steelers team to find a way with Pickett, with Harris, to do enough offensively against a Browns defense that isn't great. It hasn't really lived up to expectations all year. Pittsburgh finds a way at home to get the win.
All righty, so we got the Eagles trying to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs and trying to win the NFC East. It's their third week in a row they're trying to win the NFC East as they face the Giants, who clinched a playoff spot last week. The big question for the Giants is, are they going to play their starters against the Eagles? I think Daboll plays them for a little while, but once the Eagles, because there's a couple guys I don't think are going to play. I don't think Leonard Williams is going to play. I don't think Adoree Jackson is going to play. But I think once the Eagles start building a lead, I think Daboll is going to start pulling these guys. That's why I think the Eagles win this game and end up winning this game big, because Jalen Hurts should be back for the Eagles this week. I got the Eagles clinching the number 1 seed and the NFC East, beating the Giants 31-13. But, Justin, can the Giants spoil the Eagles clinching the number 1 seed and clinching the division?
I got the Eagles as well, 24-14. Yeah, Hurts coming back. Sounds like. So I think the Eagles, that last week did not play well at all. They still had some chances late there before the Minshew interception. But for the Giants to win this game, again, the Saints got 6 sacks on them. They pressured them, and they pressured Minshew 12 times. They're going to have to do that this week. Thibodeau's kind of, has played really well the last couple of weeks. They're going to need him to play well, and they're just going to have to kind of keep away from this Eagles offense. But I just think it's too tough a task. I think the Eagles, they didn't play well last week. I think this week they come out motivated, trying to wrap up that 1 seed and for home field advantage. So I think the Eagles at home do find a way to knock off the Giants.
Yeah, I think the Eagles definitely come ready to play this week and win this game. The big question for the Giants, though, is what do you do with your starters? What do you do with your starters? And as I said earlier, I think that Daboll, I could see it going both ways. I could see them going all out to win this game and seeing where they measure up with the Eagles. Because say they lose a competitive game, that's momentum going into the playoffs. I think if they lose a competitive game against the Eagles, that could be momentum going into the playoffs. But I also could see the fact that we've worked so hard this year to get this playoff spot. We've earned the right to rest our guy. So I could see it happening both ways for the Giants this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, because I think for the Giants, we know if they've been banged up all year, do you really want to risk somebody big like a Daniel Jones to get hurt on Sunday? I know Tyrod's a capable backup, but Jones, especially last week, played really well. So yeah, I think it's tough, but yeah, you do want to go out there. You do want to kind of see especially from the first meeting where the Eagles kind of just embarrassed you in your home field. I bet some of those guys do want some revenge and would love to try to, knock off the Eagles and take away that home field advantage from them. But yeah, it does go with, the risk losing a couple of guys, for the playoffs. As you mentioned, the Giants really have surprised everybody this year. Hector's comment, I think the Giants should limit their starters play, but give them some time on the field like preseason. That wouldn't be a bad thing either. Just playing for like a quarter or a year and a half, and then kind of just see where you're at that point and kind of rest up for next week.
Yeah, I definitely could see them. Yeah, limit the starters' time, give them a couple series, and then play it like it's preseason. I definitely could see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world for the Giants. At least give them some reps, especially the first team, and then see what maybe some of your reserves could do. Maybe they, somebody can find a spark or something that you could use in the playoffs. So yeah, it wouldn't be bad to kind of treat it like a preseason game either.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to stay in the NFC East. The Cowboys travel to D.C. to face the Commanders, and I don't think this is going to be a game. The Cowboys need the Giants to lose to win the division. They need to win, and they need the Giants to lose for them to win the division, and then they would get the number 1 or the number 2 seed. If the way the Cowboys get the 1 seed is they need the Giants to beat the Eagles, and they need the Cardinals to beat the 49ers. So their chances to get the number 1 seed are very slim, but to get the 2 seed, all they'll need is a win over the Commanders and then a Giants win over the Eagles. So I think this game is going to be a blowout. I think the Cowboys win this game big. Washington does not know what they're doing at the quarterback position, as you saw last week. Carson Wentz was absolutely terrible. They're going to bench him this week. They're going to start Taylor Heineke, but they're going to bring Sam Howell in at some point during the game. Washington has no idea what they're doing at the quarterback position at all. That's why this game is going to be a blowout. There will be more Cowboy fans at FedEx Field than Commanders fans. I got the Cowboys win to 31-10 over the Commanders. Justin, can the Commanders spoil the Cowboys' chance to get to win the division?
I don't think so. I got the Cowboy win 23-17. I have it closer. The line was at 4, but now it's already spiked up to 6.5. It was one of those things that something kind of feels off. But yeah, the Washington right now, Rivera didn't even know how that they could have been eliminated. Like it's just a total mess right now. Why don't you just start Sam Howell the entire game? Just see what he's got at this point. I don't see the point going back to Heineke. But I could see Dallas. Dak hasn't looked great. He's made some bad interceptions. If Washington gets some pressure on him, maybe Washington can keep this thing interesting, at home. But I think Dallas just has a little bit too much. I think, Pollard, Elliott, have a good game on the ground. They do enough. They're, and Washington's offense, maybe has a good driver too, but I don't see them keeping up with Dallas's offense.
No, they definitely won't. Now we'll go to the big games in the NFC this week, and we'll start with the Rams and the Seahawks. That game will be going on at 4:25. I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I know the Rams are 5-11, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I think Sean McVay will have his team ready to play this game, and he will have his team competing in this game because this is a division rival, and they are not going to let Seattle walk into the playoffs. This will be contested, and I think this is a close, competitive game. But I got to take the team that's more healthy, and I got to take the team that has more to play for. And I do think Geno Smith will make less mistakes than Baker Mayfield. I got the Seahawks beating the Rams 24-17 to have them staying alive and going into that Sunday night game. But Justin, can the Rams end the Seahawks season?
I got Seattle 21-14. Baker's played well. I think, if he can't find a spot next year, I think it'd be smart for the Rams to just bring him back as a backup. He's wouldn't be a bad option for him. Seattle losing Brooks on the defense side of the ball, linebacker. He's had a pretty good year. That could be a tough one. The Rams could protect Baker. They ran for over 170 yards last time in this meeting. Maybe they kind of control the game on the ground and pull off the upset. But yeah, the Rams, I didn't feel like showed up last week. I know they absolutely torched the Broncos on Christmas Day. That was a surprising one. But I think Seattle finds a way this week. They played well. Their defense kind of seems like it's starting to play a little bit better the last couple weeks. But I at home, in front of the 12th man. I got Seattle finding a way to try to find a way to win 8. Try to go 9-8.
So we got the big game on Sunday Night Football. I think the Lions kind of got screwed here. That this game might not matter to them. I think they're completely screwed because if the Seahawks win, the game doesn't matter to them. But so Jared Goff's gonna be a big fan of his former team at 4:25 on Sunday. But we got the Sunday night game between the Lions and Packers. I think this game is going to be really competitive, going to be really close. But the difference is I think the Packers are going to run the ball a little bit better. I think both teams are going to run the ball well on Sunday night. But I think the Packers are going to run it a little bit better. I think that's been a big reason why they've been able to go on this winning streak is the way they've been able to run the ball with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. It's made life easier for Aaron Rodgers. And I do think that Jared Goff, he hasn't played as well on the road as he has at home. I think he's going to make some big mistakes. He's going to make some mistakes in this game, especially late. And that's why I got the Packers getting the 7th seed in the NFC and getting to the playoffs, beating the Lions 28-24. But Justin, can the Lions knock out the Packers and possibly get into the playoffs?
No, I got the Packers as well. I think Sunday night game, Packers are starting to play a little bit better. I'm still, they had 4 turnovers. They forced 4 turnovers last week against the Vikings. But yeah, I just think the Lions are going to miss the comfort of the dome this week. It's not supposed to be as cold as I maybe thought it would be, for a Sunday night game in Green Bay. I think it's, the high in Sunday is supposed to be like 34. I think it's supposed to get in like the low 20s. But so yeah, I think, the Lions do keep this thing interesting. But like last time, Green Bay, Rodgers had 3 interceptions in the red zone. Like they moved the ball last time against them. I think they can do the same this week. But, again, I just can't see Rodgers throwing 3 interceptions against the Lions yet again. I think he pulls it out. I can't see Rodgers in a must-win game to lose to the Lions. He's owned the division. I know it's been a rough year for him, but he's absolutely owned everybody in that division. I don't think it's any different Sunday night. I think the Packers win 27-21.
So now we'll go over what we got for seedings in the NFC. So for me, I got the Eagles, the number 1 seed. The secret's out. Yes, we haven't picked the 49er game yet, but I got the 49ers finishing as the number 2. I know we haven't done the Vikings yet, but I got the Vikings finishing the 3, the Bucs the 4, the Cowboys the 5, the Giants the 6, and the Packers the 7.
Yeah, I think mine are kind of totally same as you. With Eagles 1, Niners 2, Vikings 3, Bucs at the 4. Then at 5, Dallas, and 6. So I would have the
6 is the
Giants, and then 7 the Packers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess same as you.
Yeah. So it looks like that's pretty much what's probably going to happen. Pretty much everybody is pretty much locked in their seeds outside of the Eagles and Cowboys and whoever the number 7 seed is. But because the 49ers should win this week, so they're pretty much locked into the 2. Vikings pretty much locked into the 3. The Bucs and Giants are completely locked into the 4 and the 6. So that's what we think is going to happen in the NFC playoff picture. AFC playoff picture, we're not going to go there because that's just too confusing right now. So, but for the NFC playoff picture, that's what we think is going to happen. So it should be interesting to see what happens in the NFC. Should be a fun day, especially at 4:25. Especially watching that Ram Seahawks game. I think that Ram Seahawks game is going to be more competitive, like we said, than people think. And I hope the Rams win that game. I don't think they will, but I hope they win that game. So that Packers Lions game is for everything on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I know it's tough for the Lions that game. I think that game should be playing at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely should be played at the same time. I'm telling you, if I'm Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen, I am so upset that I got to do, Cowboys Commanders with the Commanders not knowing who they're going to play at quarterback versus a game that could determine who makes the playoffs. So if I'm those two, I am really upset right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's tough. Yeah, because that Cowboys Commanders game really doesn't mean much at all. It's because the Lions, again, there's not too many games where, final week of the year, they're playing for – it's not usually meaningful for them. Or, if it is, it's usually, for a top 3 pick or something like that. So, yeah, Lions, it definitely got the raw end there. I know there's not too many more – I know you got like the Titans, Jags, but that doesn't really – I know it's for a division, but it doesn't really move the needle much, I feel like. So, yeah, it's a tough one. It should be an exciting week, 18. And, I know – really not, like we got one division one kind of for the division, Titans, Jags. You got one of those Saturday night, but yeah, still kind of a lot to play for teams for seeding and just to try to get in the playoffs.
Absolutely. So now we're going to get to some of the meaningless games in Week 17. We'll quickly go through those, but we'll start with the race for the number 1 pick. And if the Texans lose to the Colts this week, they get the number 1 pick in the draft. But with the way the Colts are playing and with the way the Texans have been playing, not last week, but the 3 weeks previous, I think the Texans win this game. I think they win this game. I think they win it 20-13. I think the defense forced a couple turnovers from whoever plays quarterback for the Colts. I think Davis Mills doesn't turn the ball over this week. And I got the Texans winning this game, beating the Colts 20-13. What do you got, Justin?
I'll take the Colts 23-17. Yeah, but both teams don't want to be here. The Colts, since that second half of the Vikings game, they've been outscored 97-16. This kind of really comes down to kind of whoever, tries to, both teams. I think the Texans pretty much tanked last week against the Jags. I think they kind of do the same this week. I think they want that number 1 pick. I think the Colts find a way to knock them off.
We got the Vikings and the Bears. If the Texans win and the Bears lose, the Bears will wind up at the number 1 pick. And guess what? They're not playing Justin Fields this week. Nathan Peterman's going to get the start in this game. So I think the Vikings, this will be one of the few games the Vikings win by a lot. I got the Vikings blowing out the Bears, win it 34-13. Who do you got, Justin?
Yeah, I got the Vikings 27-20. But yeah, now with the news of Fields, I think this is probably going to be a 2-score game at least. I think the Vikings bounce back. They should blow out the Bears. That defense for Chicago has been awful. And without Fields, you take away that running element that he gives you. I think the Vikings bounce back, and I think the Vikings destroy the Bears this week.
We got an NFC South matchup in Atlanta as the Bucs face the Falcons, and I think the Bucs are doing the right thing this week, playing their starters. They did not earn the right to rest their starters for the season they've had. They've underachieved worse than any team in this league. They have no business resting their starters this week, and I'm happy that Todd Bowles is playing his starters, and that's why I think they win this game. I don't think they blow out the Falcons, but they win the game. I got them to win at 27-19 this week. Justin, who you got?
I got Atlanta 20-16. I think, I know he is, but I wouldn't be shocked if he maybe pulls in the second half or something. I think Ritter finds a way to make enough plays. Tyler Allgeier's been running the ball really well. Him and Patterson, I think, do enough on the ground. Atlanta's played hard, all year. They've been competitive in a lot of games. And I think Atlanta, they find a way this week to knock off Tampa Bay because, yeah, they again, Carolina, I thought, again, if they could guard Mike Evans, had a real shot to win that game last week. So, yeah, Tampa had really underachieved all season. I think Atlanta finds a way to knock them off.
We got probably the most meaningless game in Week 18 between the Panthers and the Saints. And I think this is a close competitive game between the two teams, but I think the difference is that the Saints will run the ball more and Darnold will make more mistakes than Andy Dalton, and that's why I got the Saints finishing the year with a 4-game winning streak and winning this one. I got the Saints over the Panthers 24-20. Justin, who you got?
I got the Panthers 20-14. I think, Panthers, I think they've both teams have been playing, better down the stretch. Darnold's played well, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he does enough in this one. I think, the Saints passing rush is going to get Darnold, but I think he makes enough plays this week. I think they find a way to knock off New Orleans.
We got the Chargers traveling to Denver to face the Broncos. And for the Chargers, they're still trying to get that number 5 seed. And that's why I think they win this game and win it by 2 scores. I think Herbert throws a couple touchdown passes. I think they force a turnover or 2 from Russell Wilson. This disastrous season ends for the Broncos with a double-digit loss to the Chargers. Justin, I think you got the same.
I get Chargers 21-17. Denver played hard last week, after firing their coach. So I think Denver – yet again, plays hard this week. I think, they'll keep it competitive. I think Herbert and company do enough offensively. They find a way. But I think Denver keeps it competitive for 60 minutes.
We'll wrap up talking about the Cardinals and the Niners, and I think this is an easy game. I don't think it'll be a game. It'll be the game the Niners had last week. The Niners got a little bit of a wake-up call last week. They came out flat in Vegas. Their defense had probably had one of the worst games of the season against Jarrett Stidham. I don't think that happens this week. I think that the Niners defense has a really good game. I think the Cardinals are mailing it in. That's why I got the Niners clinching the number 2 seed and winning this one 34-10. Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got 24-10 Niners this week. Yeah, the defense kind of, struggled a little bit last week. I know there wasn't too much film there at Stidham. but yeah, the Niners D last week, was surprising how poorly they played against the Raiders. Arizona 5 of the last 6 games, they haven't gotten out of the teens in points. So I think they're going to struggle offensively yet again this week. It's been a long year. Probably the final week we will see Cliff Kingsbury on NFL sidelines.
Thank God. So, thank God. You're probably happy about that.
Yeah. Again, I think Arizona fans should be happy as well because I think they got a lot of talent on that offensive side of the ball, and he's not getting the most out of them. It's been a long couple years for Cardinals fans, and yeah, I think this is the end for Cliff, and he'll probably be back in college somewhere next year. Maybe he's an OC at the NFL, but probably at the college level, someone will pick him up.
Yes, we got a comment from Hector. Good Niners winning streak hurt them in the playoffs, in your opinion? No, I don't think it hurts them at all in the playoffs. I think they ride this momentum, and I think they get to Arizona. They're my favorite to get to the Super Bowl right now in the NFC.
Yeah, right now, I with the way the Eagles have been playing, like last week, they didn't look good. I know Hurts has been out, but yeah, if you can give me a healthy Deebo Samuel, which sounds like he'll be back for the playoffs, and if Jimmy G can come back, for the NFC Championship game, yeah, right now with that defense, I would have to take him to go to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. So we got the national championship game on Monday night. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friend. We're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEG's Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEG's Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, we got the national championship game Monday night. One of our representatives, we definitely expected to be here in the Georgia Bulldogs. The other one, we did not expect at all to be here in the TCU Horned Frogs, who were picked for 7th in the Big 12 in the preseason. But this team has had the dream season. I mean, they've done a great job making second half comebacks during the Big 12 during the regular season in the Big 12, and then they came out against Michigan. They came out to that hot start against Michigan, got up 21-3. And the thing about that game against Michigan, whenever Michigan came back, they always had an answer with a big play. Quentin Johnson had two big plays against them when it was 28-23, and when Michigan cut the lead to 41-38, Quentin Johnson had 2 huge plays. One of them went for a touchdown. So this game is going to be it's pretty much David versus Goliath. Georgia's a 12-point favorite in this game. I think it's a little bit disrespectful to TCU that Georgia's a 12.5-point favorite, but that's what it is. So I think this is going to be a really, really exciting game. Justin, your early thoughts on this game?
Yeah, TCU, as you mentioned, it's been the Cinderella story to start the year, they were 200-1 odds to win going to Vegas to win the title. So it's been definitely been a year for TCU that they didn't nobody really expected from them. Sonny Dykes has done an unbelievable job. The team that was 5-7 last year really took off this offense. Yeah, Georgia's on this looking for has had a remarkable season yet again. They fought back. TCU for Georgia, they fought back against Ohio State. They kind of looked like they were in trouble there in the fourth quarter. They found a way. Down in Atlanta, it was pretty much a home game for them. They found a way to win the game. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it opened 13.5. It's already down to 12.5. So yeah, it's a little bit disrespectful for TCU because it's a team that again all year is kind of just playing with house money, and it's been a great story, and it's been good for college football that we had the two really good semifinal games, and it's good that we have a representative like TCU in the national championship game.
Oh, yeah, I think that's really good for college football. I think, a lot of people were getting tired of, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma. I think this is really good for college football that we got a team like TCU playing for a national title.
Yeah, absolutely. It is because, it's something we haven't had in a while for a team like TCU to kind of be here, because it's always kind of the same. Yeah, as you mentioned, like, 5-6 teams you think are, somehow get there. But yeah, now we have a TCU team that was picked 7th in the conference. Somebody had them pick the finish behind Kansas, which is crazy. So
Kansas almost beat them, and when they were both 5-0. I remember that game. Yeah,
they did. Johnson, another big play in that one to help them escape Lawrence. But yeah, it's been a remarkable year for TCU. It's been great for the sport, and it's a team that's just been playing with house money all year, and they've been fun to watch all season.
So now we'll go to the keys to the game. And for TCU to win the game, we'll give our 3 keys. And I'll start. Number 1, they need to get Quentin Johnson involved. If they can't get Quentin Johnson involved, I think they're going to have trouble winning this game because they don't have the depth at receiver like Ohio State did to hang with Georgia. They don't really. Quentin Johnson is by far their best receiver. So they're definitely going to have to get him involved. They got him involved in that game against Michigan in the second half, and he had 2 humongous plays. And they both were, just like I mentioned earlier, they both were when Michigan was coming back. So they're definitely going to have to get Quentin Johnson into the game. Second, they're going to need to contain the running game of Georgia and force Stetson Bennett to beat them. They're going to have to force it. I know Stetson Bennett has played really, really well, but you could argue that Max Duggan is as good or better than Stetson Bennett. So if they could force Stetson Bennett to beat them, maybe force a couple turnovers like they did with J.J. McCarthy, that's really, really going to help them in the game. And number 3, they need to run the ball. I know it's very difficult to run the ball against Georgia, probably one of the most difficult teams in the country to run the football against. But if Miller doesn't play, DeMarcado is going to have to run the ball. He did run the ball against Michigan. We all know that big run he had in that Michigan game, almost went for a touchdown. So if Miller doesn't play, DeMarcado is going to have to be able to run the ball. So those are my 3 keys for TCU. Justin, what are your 3 keys for TCU?
My 3 keys, number 1 is that front 7 of TCU, and especially D. Winters and Dylan Horton. They got to continue to create havoc. They did it last week. Winters last week, he had that pick 6. He had multiple tackles for losses. Horton had 3 sacks last week, and he forced a fumble. And on that first drive, after that long scramble McCarthy had, he was the one that kind of knocked him out of bounds and forced that 4th and goal there. Those two have to play well in this one. They got to get in Stetson Bennett's face. If those if they can create some havoc, they put TCU in a good position. My second one is Quinn Johnson's got to win the battle against Kellen Ringo. Arguably Johnson's you could put as a number 1 wide receiver prospect, and Ringo's people got him rated as the number 1 quarterback coming out of this class. So you got 2 of the best here, and as you mentioned, Johnson, the big plays that he's been able to have, they got to be able to make it against Georgia this week. They got to be able to hit some deep shots, keep them honest, open up that running game. And Johnson's been, a freak this year offensively. He's been Duggan's favorite target. He's going to have to play well, and it's going to be a big test for him against Ringo. And then my third one is TCU. They just got to continue to answer. They got to continue to just find ways to win. Early on that 4th and goal stop that they had, they forced a fumble at the 1-yard line, and then every time it looked like Michigan was about to take control, it was either offense or defense stepped up and had a big answer. That's what they've done all year. And the thing is too, Ohio State played a nearly perfect game on Saturday night, and they still lost. And Ohio State's got more talent than TCU. TCU's gonna have to find a way to just kind of contain Georgia, find a way when they can to capitalize off of some opportunities. And those are my 3 keys for the Horned Frogs to try to knock off Georgia.
So my keys for Georgia are, number one, get the run game going. Get that run game going, because it is one of the best run games in the country. If they're able to run the football, Georgia, on Monday night, I don't see TCU. I see them getting into the 30s. If they can run the ball, they're getting into the 30s. That's going to open up play action, and it's going to set things up for Stenson Bennett and Brock Bowers. I think they can get that run game going. I think Georgia is definitely going to get into the 30s. Number 2, they need to limit the production with Quentin Johnston. You talked about the matchup with Ringo. Ringo against Johnston is going to be the best matchup in this game. It's going to be the best matchup in this game. And whoever wins that matchup could very easily win this game. So they need to limit the production. I'd put Ringo on Johnston. If I'm Georgia, like Ohio State didn't put Ringo on Harrison the whole game because Ringo had some trouble with him, and Ohio State is more deep at receiver. TCU is not as deep at receiver. I am sticking Ringo on Johnson all game long and making Max Duggan beat me with somebody else. Even though I think Max Duggan should target him anyways, I am forcing Max Duggan to beat me with somebody else. So that's the biggest matchup in the game, and Georgia definitely has to contain Quentin Johnson. Third, Bennett can't make mistakes. Bennett made a big mistake in the game against Ohio State, and it cost him 7 points. If Bennett doesn't make mistakes in this game, I think Georgia is definitely winning this game. So if they're able to run the ball and Bennett doesn't turn the ball over, I think they're getting at least the 30s, and I do think they're winning the game. Justin, your keys for Georgia.
Yeah, my number one is that, as you mentioned, the secondary's got to play better. When Nolan Smith went out in that second half of the LSU game, that's when LSU started to have some success offensively. We saw Ohio State really tear that up. And again, Nolan Smith is probably going to be a number 1 or a first round pick in this upcoming draft. So it's been a tough loss, and they've really missed his leadership on the field. Again, Georgia, the deep ball's kind of been their kryptonite at times. TCU leads the nation with 13 completions of 50 yards or more. So that's a big thing. Georgia's got to kind of limit that this week. Their secondary's got to play well. And Ringo kind of starts with that. He did struggle a bit against Harrison. They kind of moved him around, and he's got to play against a guy in Johnson, who's going to be even bigger and more physical than him. So that Georgia's secondary's got to play better. And then number 2 for me is Georgia's defensive line. They got to win the battle up front against TCU. They got to get pressure on Duggan. They got to make him one-dimensional. If they can kind of stop that rushing game, they can start kind of doing some different things, defensively with some blitzes and all that. Because Ohio State didn't really run the ball great. They did it enough where it kind of kept Georgia off balance for a little bit. But if they can't keep Georgia's defense off balance, they're going to be in trouble. And my third one, another one you had was run the football. And I'll even go kind of separate, run the football early. For whatever reason, Michigan just didn't seem like Michigan really prepared much at all for that game. I think Michigan maybe thought that they could go in there with their C game and knock off TCU, because they kind of waited a little bit to run the football later on into the second half, and they just a little bit too late for them. If Georgia can run the football early against them, and they can use play action, they may not have Darnell Washington in this game, which hurts at tight end, but they still got Brock Bowers. He's going to be a tough matchup for that defense. So if Georgia can run the football early, keep TCU kind of guessing, and especially that means TCU may not be able to blitz Winters or Horton. That that would be huge because those two have really been playing well lately. So I think for Georgia, run the football is going to be crucial against TCU.
Yeah, it definitely will. It absolutely will. So now we're going to go to our prediction, and I'll start. And I think this is a game where I think Georgia will have success running the ball. I think they will. I think that TCU is going to have trouble stopping Georgia, but I do think TCU will have success on offense. I do think they get the ball to Quentin Johnson. I do think that Duggan, he tests Ringo, and I think they win a couple times when they test him. I think the difference though in the game is going to be, I think Georgia's going to stop the run, and I do think that Georgia's going to be able to run the ball. I think that's going to be the biggest difference in the game. I do think both quarterbacks are going to play pretty well, but I think the game's going to be competitive for at least a half. But in this getting late into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, I think Duggan's going to make a key mistake, and I think Georgia's going to capitalize, and that's why I got Georgia winning their second straight national championship, beating TCU 31-20. But Justin, can TCU shock the world on Monday night?
Unfortunately, I don't think they will. I got Georgia 34-24. I just think Georgia again, they did a great job against Michigan. They kind of proved everybody wrong. But Georgia, I think it's just going to be a little bit too much. I don't think Georgia's going to shoot themselves in the foot as much as Michigan did. I don't think Michigan's I felt like Michigan was just kind of unprepared, I felt like, in that game. I don't think Georgia's going to take them lightly. I think TCU is going to keep this thing interesting, but I think that Georgia's defense is going to be able to do enough. They do get a crucial turnover. I don't think TCU is going to have a lot of success on the ground this week. And I think Johnson does make a couple of big plays, but I just don't think it's enough. And I think TCU's defense struggles against that Georgia rushing attack. And I think that's why Georgia controls the game up front.
Yes. I think that's what happens, and it should be a very, very interesting game on Monday night. We'll definitely be recapping it next week. So that's gonna wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking Wild Card Weekend and recapping the national championship game. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open. It's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.